Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Paladins Global Series. My name is Evan Rayner, Rain Day, as you may know me on Twitter or in the casting scene. Of course, I'm joined by William Newberry, Gore Miser here by my side. How you doing, man? You ready to get back into it?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Yesterday was a good kickoff, and I feel like it's just going to keep rolling.
I think so, too.
Everything's going smooth.
Rolling. Well, I'm excited to see it happen. We've got Europe and Brazil today for those who are interested in. But let's take a look at the fall schedule so you guys get a bigger picture of what you can expect in terms of our Paladins broadcasts on a daily basis. 2 PGS sections or blocks, so to speak, at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday will be that one break because sometimes we'll have patch notes later on in that day. And, of course, Friday we'll have CIS and LATAM to close things out. And on Monday you can expect a nice showcase of the PCL as well as Esports Weekly, which will have a little bit of a flair to. However, this upcoming Esports Weekly will actually be Tuesday because of Labor Day coming up. So let's take a look at the standings before we get into that. And, we'll get into Labor Day when it happens. Hopefully you guys have some good plans. But it's Europe today, and Authority and Blazing Hussars will be the team we look at, Gorge, as far as just they understand audience-wise. It's 2 best-of-3s that we'll do in this entire broadcast, one in Europe, and, of course, Brazil will have one as well, and I think we'll see Space Station Gaming.
I'm actually excited for that. I feel like a lot of these teams have been doing a lot of work, especially in all these other regions. Space Station, again, one of the teams that has always kind of been sitting up towards the top.
Definitely.
But it's one of those things that when you are at the top for that long, eventually people start to catch up. You can't always win the race.
You really can't. And I think you have to respect the players and the teams that put the time in, despite the fact that they aren't at the top currently, and they're just hustling to get there. That's what I respect sometimes the most in individuals, just the ability to work from a place of being below and then find themselves on top one day because they work hard. You know what I mean? That's a very, I think, exciting thing to see, and we're going to see it now. Those are the results of the other 2 games that were played. Again, 2 best-of-3s today, and the first one coming up should be exciting, man. Europe is off to a blazing start, so to say.
And it's one of those things we actually saw the other teams in Europe. Clown Fiesta, notably one who made a big splash at LAN last month, or I guess now almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
The way things have been rolling. They were able to find a 2-0. The teams that they tend to always play against, Blazing Hussars is one of them. So a lot of competitiveness and competitive nature in Europe when it comes to really the top 4 teams that come through with it. Them finding a 2-0 isn't too surprising, but here I kind of expect things to go a little closer.
Well, let's take a look at the map bands and get into it. Come on, y'all. It's Georgia. It's my Georgian accent. I'm not sure if it was that good yet. Frog Isle.
Pretty close, honestly.
Map 1.
All you had to do is really, once you throw y'all into anything, it sounds intensely southern.
On our side of the country. That's it. Get out of here. That's my Georgian.
25 years in the South, I've never actually encountered someone who spits, but there's still time.
Yeah, I'm not actually spitting. I just learned to fake it.
It's the good
Frog Isle Map 1. Authority, they're banning at Jaguar Falls, and I believe that was an Ice Mines ban as well. So we'll take a look at what ends up happening here in Game 1. Authority with the first pick. We've seen so much of the Koga yesterday, but we were told that Koga is actually not available to be played. I'm assuming that still stands for PC, as it does for console.
Guys
we'll find out very soon.
A little bit of a taste before they're actually supposed to. It's like the treat, like when you're cooking dinner and you take that bite and you're just like, okay,
making cookies, you eat
definitely going to be really good.
Yeah. That'll be nice.
You have to make sure.
That'll be nice.
Torvald, Makoa. I think actually Torvald's the one that's been surprising me. Yesterday, in the first game we got to see for the fall split, he was first pick. Here he's going to be first ban. And it's just one of those things. Some small changes to his shields are really the only thing that either push him in or pull him out.
And look at this, a Ying ban. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Gore, you've been talking a little bit about Brittle and talking about how that card just really sets Ying's up with her new life exchange talent to make an impact beyond what she's been able to do as a healer before.
And it's just, it feels very similar to like Maldamba heal. Actually, I think it's more akin to what you would expect out of Furia, but like the way the beam shoots is very similar to Maldamba. So a lot of players are going to be kind of used to that, as well as having a very quick cooldown. That 800 stacks up incredibly fast, but why get budget Furia if you can just get Furia?
That's true. I guess Blazing Hussars agree with you there. Drogo Furia, first couple of picks for them. And then Inara and Fernando. So frontline prioritization at the start. They just want to make sure that they feel comfortable. And when teams do that, to me, it means that either some of the veteranship is on the front line or some of the weaker components are on the front line because, there are a lot of accessible, very good front lines here, except 3 being banned. You have to start saying maybe it's just a lack of resources in the economy of that position.
being able to come through. I was kind of curious as to whether or not Blazing Stars wanted Leon, one of the champions that I think is the best counter for Furia, being able to deal with shields and healing, but at the same time deals with Drogos incredibly well. So if Authority had been able to pick that up, I think it would have caused a little bit more trouble. But this is the one pick I think we were talking about a lot yesterday, but I think it's going to start making the impact. Victor with that new burst mode.
Yeah, and I think the key about it is that we did not see it translate into console. We see the Strix here, which is sometimes a rare breed nowadays. After the sniper FOV changes happen and the distance of the focal length of that sniper made it a lot harder for them to have those mid-range engagements, but Frog Isle is a perfect map to keep enemies at a distance. Victor maybe going to be serving as that sniper role on the other side with a little bit more mobility, hoping to see his new talent here show up as we head into game number 1. It is a best of 3, ladies and gentlemen, so buckle in. Authority versus Blazing Stars.
There's a lot in terms of the composition Blazing Stars was able to get that I feel enables them a lot more. Having Leon is in that area where it's just kind of like, okay, well, we've stopped you from having a counter to Drogos. We've stopped you from having that, but she's going to be able to do well against this Bomb King. The sniper, I expect, is going to be dealing with Victor most of the time. Like you said, with burst mode, he's kind of entering that same role. His idea is, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to try to be in cover, and for the most part, I'm going to try to get headshots. Closar here, his job is just pick him off.
And 2 things we got to look at here is it's Veliky Boy and his use of Solar Blessing, which is a talent that Jera notably said he would have played if it was not banned out in the last LAN. So I love this idea. It's where Pyre Strike becomes a heal when it hits opponents and actually stays in place. It's an incredible amount of healing. I'll show you the numbers when we do check out that talent at one point later on in the game, maybe a mid-round in round 2. But already getting started, Moldamba, Ace trying to keep Zelda alive, a familiar name. Oh, but a familiar thing. Graphies finding a kill on the Drogos. Who would have thought?
And being able to pick that up, that starts it rolling. Zelda is actually one of the members that we have seen play Bomb King successfully so many times before. But again, you're looking at Blazing Stars, and even with a couple members changing overall, these are guys that you have seen throughout the PGS for almost a year at this point. Absolutely. With the way things have been going.
And what we're seeing the Inara do is a good job of just focusing Toot Toot's turret down. He's probably got some loadout cards that are augmenting the strength of that turret, the ability for it to heal him. And as you see the Pyre Strike there from Solar Blessing, and that's that Forged Ally, it's the healing station. It's going to be very difficult when he has those turrets up to take him down. But so far, Toot Toot doing a great job here, getting the heal, and that's what we're talking about with Solar Blessing. Full heal right away, and just a perfect haven for him to sit out of and fire.
I mean, you're looking at bowling ball shields as well as the barricade as well, so you're keeping yourself healed up and shielded most of the time. You're not falling into too much danger, but right now, Authority, they're at 90%. You have to start touching this point. Blazing Stars, even though they've been playing phenomenally, aren't in control.
And I mean, Graphies has to go big here. I'm not sure that it's going to work out, especially with the full health Inara. I think this point is lost. Oh man, so exciting already here as we get into PC. It's just great to see these guys back in action. Graphies is going to go down, and there's that burst mode Victor showing what it can do from long range. I'd love to take a look at what Solar Blessing is augmented with. You talked about the healer. We talked about the style of play with the Furia and what she's bringing to the table with this style of heal. What is she opting for? I mean, Lightforge is standard gore, but Solar Flare and Stoke the Fire seem to be the 2 things that are different in this build besides the original Lightforge, Light of Dawn, and Burning Oath.
Solar Flare is usually the card, like when I put more points into Light of Dawn, a little bit more into Lightforge, right? Get your cooldown, get the shielding up. But having that extra radius on the Pyre Strike, I have 2 loadouts for Furia. One is going to be healing, which is going to focus on the shields, the cooldowns. But then one's focused on like getting a little bit more damage, and that's what that does. You have that huge radius. If you throw that on the point, you're hitting a couple people with that heal. A lot of people are going to go through. If you're looking for a stun, it's so much easier to connect with just because it's so much wider.
And you know, I think Stoke the Fire is a good card. This is actually one of the cards that gives her a combo. Furia players may know this, but some of the more new Furia players looking at her and saying, hey, I want to try this champion, don't know that actually you can almost instantly reset this Pyre Strike available to you if you hit your Wings of Wrath. Each time he slides backwards, uses movement skill, 3 orbs fall out. Still a minute left in this fight, by the way. And as those orbs hit somebody, they take a second off of the cooldown. You can up that up to 2.5 seconds each time if you go to level 5. It's pretty devastating. You can get that Pyre Strike right back and forth. So far, though, Graphies tries to go for the Dragon Punch and unfortunately can't get saved. The Licky Boy just a day late and $1 short on that one.
I think lucky for him, though, it didn't consume the ult just yet, so he did get that, like, start animation. But because he got killed fast enough, it didn't go through. Still has the Dragon Punch available. 30 seconds left on the clock for the payload to be pushed in. And Inara, honestly, looking pretty healthy with a Moldamba right behind her. you're going to need a lot from Blazing Asars. They might have to dump an ult to try and stop this.
And I mean, you talk about Graphies getting, poked away. I think we have a lot of this Victor to blame for that. I mean, the hit scan pressure, the range, it's just so hard. Despite the Solar Blessing healing up the Barrack, he doesn't have the same health pool to heal up like the Inara. Things are getting bad. Zelda approaching the right side. Jay Bazaz gets taken down by Kamaker here, and it is just Blazing Asars who are on the defense trying to claim authority in it, and it seems like maybe they have done enough, Gore. It does look like it will be at least a stall for now and a 1-1 defense heading into round 2.
The aggression that came out from Authority, it was good, but they just misplaced themselves slightly. Like, there was just enough separation between them that you didn't get to see the follow-up, I think, between the few members, mainly J-Bay as well as Zelda, both kind of being very low and separated from the team. The healer couldn't get to them to heal them up.
So 300 health every half a second. So every second, no, every 0.05 seconds.
Yeah, that's a lot of healing.
I mean, every 0.05, so every 0.1 seconds you're getting 600. So every second you're getting 6,000 healing. Every second.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I have never done the math on that.
Imagine that with Inara. And I think you can see why this style is just barely working. If Veliki Boy had a better soaker of healing, this would be a completely different story. Barrack, one of the lowest health, in fact, the lowest health tank in the entire game. So a great idea, just not able to be taken advantage of as well as it could with another.
And it's just one of those moments where even with all the shielding that he has, Barrack, a lot of survivability. Oh! That was a beautiful spit, and that forces the Immortal as well. J-Bay, you're not going to be able to walk out of that one. That's a double kill.
Oh my god, that was beautiful. Graphies doing so much work in this fight, and now Dragon Punch for free. Does he want to use it, though? That's the thing. He has a kill here. He knows it. It's just a matter of time. Combustible will knock away Danfus, and I think it's a smarter choice. Score. He saves that Dragon Punch for the zone.
Being able to use that later in the round, especially when you're up against something like Fernando, something like Inara. Once Inara gets on this point, she's very hard to displace. You have a lot of damage on your side of the team, though, and that makes it a little bit easier. But now you're looking at clutch moments when it comes down. They're at 99%. You need to get rid of some frontline. That punch is going to come in handy.
You got to be worried about the Victor. And Closar there finding a very, very clutch kill onto J-Bay. What can Loomsy do? He's done so much. He's going to be focusing out the Drogus. Look at that, almost dead. Graphies still hits the shot, but he says, I got one AoE explosion right back at you. Veliki Boy actually does one and takes it for the team and finishes off the Victor. And there's Closar getting closer and closer as he helps Blazing Hussars find the objective here.
Now looking to try and find some shots. So it's going to be Fernando shield down. It's going to be on cooldown. That's 15 seconds at least that the team has to not worry about that. You can see J-Bay is essentially forced back. He can't get aggressive. Kamaker uses his ult, gets the kill, gets a reset, 50% on that, and they grab the point.
Actually great stuff from Kamaker because he goes into the Enlightenment knowing that he has this width. This hitbox is so big on that. J-Bay's giving a little stutter step. But unfortunately, you can't stutter step beyond such a huge hitbox of what Enlightenment is. So Kamaker, wisely and with experience, just finds the kill using the ultimate, gets 50% back, and now is already at 80% again.
And immediately dashes right in. Like, there's been nothing but control coming out of him so far, and it's that patient kind of control. Graphies is getting a lot of kills, a lot of explosive damage, that burst you expect, but Kamaker has just been slowly but surely just piling damage on.
And I mean, taking a look at the damage charts might be interesting as well, just to see where he's keeping up, and it is Loomsy and Kamaker who's 9,000 damage ahead. Loomsy, though, doing a fantastic job on the Victor and showing the prowess of what this can do. Closar showing the, the imperfect creation that is Strix's calves. Not able to jump as high as he would have liked. No NBA in his future, but at least he is definitely going to be a sniper for the time being.
A couple of good headshots right there. That's actually going to be another Enlightenment. Doesn't get the kill, but still applying that damage. Toot is so low, but no one's looking at him. That's going to be an Inflame.
Oh, misplay.
They're all dead.
But,
But hey, they killed him even harder because those wings.
They killed him real harder.
They are so much more dead now.
Yeah, they are much more dead. Much more dead. They're better, much more dead.
Better, much more dead.
They're much more better dead now.
Much more better.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe that ultimate. And I think Veliki Boy, he's doing well, Gore, but break that down. Was that a misclick? Was that something that he was just thinking, hey, maybe we want to guarantee this push?
I feel like that was less of a misclick, more of a miscommunication. I think he thought they were more people alive that they had to deal with a little bit more. I'm not sure if he was watching the feed as well, because a couple of those kills came in really fast right next to each other, and that channel time for that ult is relatively long. You could have hit that while there are 3 people alive, and then everyone's dead, and you're like, man, oops.
Yeah, I think it's one Veliky boy probably wishes he had back, but the way he's getting all this healing, oh boy, that Solar Blessing certainly serving him and Toot well. The thing around it and why Solar Flare is so clutch, though, is because Toot has to actively move towards Veliky boy's Pyre Strike in that situation. But because he has so much healing and so much damage as well, it's just allowing him to open up space for Closar, for Kamaker. You normally have to deal with the sniper, but they're focusing on so much else that's just leaving him wide open.
Comeback mechanic, though, for Authority is going to open up a little bit more. 58%. They have been getting regularly to like the 60s without that. So being able to hold on to it, if they can get one good fight, that's their step right back into it. But Blazing Asar seem to have gotten a relatively good grip on this point so far.
And that was a really big shot that Closar missed. He's on a 17th Street. Barrage almost takes him down as well. It's just a game of inches between the 2 damage dealers on both sides. Zelda finding Toot, and that's the front line there. Blazing Asars have to make a move. They don't have much except the flashbang, though. 97%. Graphius has to touch, and Kamaker just too late. They find kills, but to no avail. It is Authority who come back into this matchup.
That timing makes a big difference. Once comeback mechanic is enabled, it just opens up so much more for you. And now you get that confidence. Authority, they haven't been too far behind. You grab that point, and you're like, okay, look, we can play, we can fight, we can jump in here and cause a little bit more trouble for Blazing Asars. Maybe this time around we can try to push it. I'm curious as to whether or not they're going to like look to, at this point, charge back those ults they just used and see if that's like the round ender for them, even though they know they have at least one more point fight.
I think at this point you're also saying, man, if we only had that Inflame, if we only had that Furia bonus damage, bonus movement speed, we might have been able to 4v5 that even without a tank, just because our Drogos, our Leon, I mean, the damage would have been just, I mean, irreparable to their back line. However, Toot trying to 2v1. It'll be Loomsy who finishes it off. The burst mode enough to take him down, but he will go down as well in response with Graphies coming back, and it's a full steady wipe. Minute and 25 seconds now. Authority will try to regroup and push. Kamaker with Manifest Destiny in that loadout. Maybe take a look at that for fans trying to see why he's being so successful today. Obviously, it's the good play, but Manifest Destiny, really important card. Heir to the Throne, you can kind of have at a level 2, a level 3, and be fine, but the distance of the dash, and when you, of course, slide off of surfaces in Paladins, that's what makes this build, this style, so deadly. But speaking of that, Loomsy finds the kill.
Being able to go through. Loomsy has been showcasing something, and you know, we've been mentioning the damage from burst mode, but not mentioning as much that it does get bonus range on it as well. So you are getting a little bit more, and it's going to make it a little bit easier, I want to say, on maps like Frog Isle to find that damage. Unfortunately, he's getting caught in a lot of these scenarios where he's right in their face. And when you're up against the Drogos, it's not really where you want to be.
No, and Zelda here is a really big component to why this team fight works for them. He was the one who got the first kill to suddenly turn it around right before J-Bay actually turned into the Fernando Immortal and decided to buy some time on that last point fight, setting up a trap for Graphies. He's going to force the thrust early, which is good. It doesn't mean he doesn't have it in this fight, so his mobility will be limited, and that's going to be Authority pushing it in a 3-3. And it's just 2 2-0 pushes back-to-back, so a relatively fast game for a 3-3.
Being able to set it up, there's only one ult that was used to secure that as well, and that was actually going to be that Dread Serpent. That was Graphies. Again, showcasing what they can do. I think that was actually just after an Inflame, so he didn't have the bonus damage on that one, but now coming into it, imagine that with bonus damage, because it's back and charged up.
Exactly, and Inflame wouldn't have impacted that Fire Spit, but it would have impacted Rockets before because it's not an ability-based. That's where Torvald comes in, right? It's just the basic attacks, but Torvald's ability-based bonus damage is what really makes him, when he's viable, and he is now, in that special place. I expect to see bans. I expect to see pics of the old grandpa later on today. But there's only so many games these teams have to play before they decide how this set travels as far as a win or a loss. J-Bay going very aggressive, and it's just to be able to create space for Zelda. J-Bay going to stay alive thanks to the Gord. He pops the shield down, and he's going, and he is back to base, and so is Danfist. See you later, buddy. That's Closar getting a double.
Being able to get a lot of space, 30%, pretty good. Unfortunately, you use pretty much all of your ults right off the bat, and that's where that falls apart. You didn't really have, like, there was a strategy. It just didn't go the way you wanted it to. Having your Immortal Force that early on never works out well as a Fernando. And now you're looking at how do we get back into this? You have a Seismic Crash, and that is the only big utility that you can use to get the point.
But what's great is that they actually found Kamikaze, so it's not necessarily over here. J-Bay just gets to the point, and that was it. I mean, the ability for Graffies to zone this way, the impact of his damage on the Drogos, it is something that's going to have to be dealt with. We know Drogos is a factor, we know Willow's a factor, and we know Graffies is a factor as well. Blazing Asars, they're going to blaze away with game number 1.
It was close, though. Authority made it a lot closer towards them than I think Blazing Asars expected. And honestly, after seeing the names kind of than how I expected, Blazing Asars, again, a lot of people, 5 members on that team that have regularly placed in the top 3 in Europe for months and months and months now. So coming into this area, you can tell there's still maybe a little bit of growing pains. That one in Flame maybe changes the round prior with the comeback mechanic, but you have to learn from those.
You have to say that in Flame was the round when they would have wanted to have it, that actually Authority were able to bring back 3-3. So this could have been a 4-1. And the way the Blazing Asars played, it did feel that way, that they had full command of this set and this matchup. We'll have to wait till game 2, though, as I'm sure the maps will be brought up on your screen very shortly to see where we will be playing, because this is where Blazing Asars sets the tone. I think when you come out here in week 1, you want to say that nobody can beat us.
True.
You want to put fear into your opponents.
And especially, I mean, you're coming into it and you're looking at, man, well, Clown Fiesta got a 2-0. We need to get a 2-0. We can't fall behind them in the standings. Like, we got to keep this up, and it's going to be Stone Keep. Now, this is actually an interesting map for me, just because I feel like everyone goes here now. You know, it's like it's
only for you.
The Frog Isle.
I can't be interested in Stone Keep as well.
No.
Wow, that's Mappist.
That's Mappist.
Yeah.
Mappist. Sure. Okay.
Just go with it.
You can have Timber Mill. No, wait. I have Timber Mill.
No, sir. You can have Timber Mill. You can have Timber Mill. You can have Timber Mill. I will Oprah Timber Mill all over this place. There's no way I am taking that. You can give it away
at least 10
times.
Oh,
yeah. You can have Timber Mill all you want, ladies and gentlemen. You want it? You guys want it out there? You can have it. Ice Mines as well. I'll throw that in. That's just like a double deal package at a car dealership. Like,
the worst package you could want.
Yeah,
like,
you also get the
trim.
You also get the exterior trim. Yeah, it's like, I don't even want this car, man. I don't even. It's a Miata.
My worst experience in the game so far was 4 ranked games in a row, and all 4 of them landed on Ice Mines.
Yeah, that's
I lost every single one of them, and now
it's a bad day.
You know how I feel about Ice
I
Mines.
know how you feel. I know how you feel. You can't get away from it as well. So it is another Torvald ban. I mean, we're talking about the economy. Obviously, no Koga. You would expect Koga when he comes in to take one of these places, and that just means the Bomb King of Blaster is getting away. But Authority, the high priority over the Leon, and that's something that Blazing Asars has proven already to play very, very well.
And I think this is kind of double-edged. Again, you're taking it away from Kamikaze, who was doing incredible stuff with it, but also you say, go ahead, go for the Fury again.
Yeah,
See if it works as well this time around, especially if you're going for anything oriented around your Pyre Strike, because then everyone's grouping up. That makes it so much easier for Leon to just spread death and taxes to 3-4 members at a time.
Yeah. Barrack and Drogos here picked up, and that's something that Graffies will be happy about. Toot is going to be able to be back on the Barrack. But the Leon Genos here, to me, it feels like Authority may be reacting to Kamikaze's performance. He did have a great job, did do a great job during that first game of applying pressure. And it also is potentially just countering out, again, Graffies' Drogos. Having that hit scan is something that's important for Authority, so they are looking for that. And now they have someone who could finally chase him into the sky in Grok.
I'm really want to see that.
Sick,
like, that
right?
would just be perfect if it's just like ult fly up and take him down.
That would be amazing.
It's not going to be the easiest thing, I think, to accomplish, but if you can hit it, then it's going to be perfect. And that's going to open up a lot. I mean, Grok in this area, he's going to be kind of, again, augmenting what Genos is doing. Like, he's never good at burst heals, but Grok's like, okay, I'll throw a healing totem down. I can just pop it over there. I'm standing over here, but I can still run like Maelstrom and get all that damage.
Right, and I am actually curious, will we see the Maelstrom or will we see the Spirit's Domain? I think that you look at this, you can even maybe make a call onto a Totemic Ward. There's not enough CC, but with the Combustible and Seismic Crash / Inara things, I think you could say that it does make sense to avoid some of that knockback on a map like Stone Keep, where it's relatively accessible to most of the champions. Willow is also going to be a problem for them. How much hit scan does Blazing Asars have to be able to deal with it? Obviously, the Drogo's not going to be the best one for that. Fury will be lending a hand, though.
This is one of those areas where I feel like Blazing Asars have done 2 things with Drogos, where it's like, well, we secured something that was phenomenal last game.
Yeah.
But we also kind of shot ourselves in the foot, because one of the things about Grok to me that immediately screams out, if I see Grok, the best way to try and deal with his healing, anything he can put out, is immediately Willow. Like, she just decimates healing totem, because once it's down, there's your dead zone target. That's all you have to hit. He's not going to be focused as much on healing this time around. It is going to be Loomsy, so the guy who's playing Victor, now switching to Grok. So expect, I want to say, a couple of good traces for that damage.
And more aggressiveness, I think, too. You know, Loomsy, when you have somebody who flexes onto a damage and then goes onto a support but uses a damage talent, you can just expect them to be aggressive in that style. It's like seeing Spittner on a binary star Genos. You know what kind of play style is going to show up there. But, oh, boy! Kamiker, and I'm sure it's Graphies combined to hit Loomsy with so much damage he can barely blink before having to go back to base, and already Blazing Hussar is off to a blazing start.
And Danfus showing off that dash range once again, which I feel like in Frog Isle you don't get to see it as well, but Stonekeep, you see how much that distance matters because of the way the map is laid out. So that just flings you across, gets you into safety relatively quickly. Unfortunately for Authority, him getting safety doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of point control. That's 63% and rising still for Blazing Hussars.
Really good Drogoz movement as well. I actually like the way Klosar kind of just kept looking at the angles, kept looking for opportunities to be able to find damage, and then, you know, safely retreats into an area where a Vilicky boy doesn't have to move much to be able to heal him up. But J-Bay, oh boy, beautiful Calamity Blast there to decimate his target. Klosar does fall, but it's Toot Toot who's on the point, and it's just too late for Zelda, Vilicky boy, and the rest of the squad of Blazing Hussars going to take .1 here in game number 2.
And I know for a lot of people who, whether or not they've tuned in a while, like if you watch the LAN, if you watch the ending of the last split for the PPL and the PGS, Willow was going towards the top, either banned or first pick in a lot of these games. This time coming around in the bottom, and it's probably sort of confusing as to why, because nothing has changed about her. It's just the Dead Zone is so adept at what it does, but the problem is trying to apply it in the proper place with the right composition. Right now, you're looking at, okay, well, Inara. She's not going to have her healing, but Furia doesn't care about that. She's going to focus on the Drogos, the Cassie, the Baron, keep them alive, keep them rolling, because Inara's just going to damage reduction and keep things going forward. Dead Zone's not as effective here as it could be in other compositions.
And I mean, the quality of play, you just have to look at the switch, yet the steady effectiveness of players like Graphies. Klosar jumping from the Strix onto the Drogos. It's a beautiful combustible fire spit that turns Danfus and Loomsy into dust. Looking for the third, can't quite get it. J-Bay cleans it up with a decimation, but it's only Authority being decimated here as it's a 2-0 in less than 3 minutes for Blazing Hussars.
And I feel like normally you look at, man, why does Drogos dash in there like that? He just kills himself by getting right in their face. But he was pulling so much attention towards him. The payload, no one was glancing at it. He was not only able to get the double kill, but then the 3 members that are alive are trying to kill the dragon instead. He buys that space with his life. And honestly, there are times where sometimes you die and it's not worth it. Sometimes you die like that, and it gives your team that 2-0 lead.
Great stuff from the boys of Blazing Hussars, healing out by a mile, almost 12,000. In fact, a little bit more than 12,000 ahead is Vilicky boy, showing the benefits of this Solar Blessing talent, something that we will see, I'm sure, as we head into the rest of the weeks here in the PGS, and of course the PPL beginning today. Oh, nice through time and space, and and inflame the immunity to counter it out. The CC and damage immunity, in fact, that will help him to still keep his teammates in the battle. He's going to use that beautiful Wrath, Pyre Strike, and all of the kit to be able to heal his teammates. And although a very Symphony-esque type play ends, it ends with Graphies and Danfus actually finding a couple of kills.
Graphies is in this awkward position where he can't get too aggressive. I don't know if I've seen anything more bothersome than Toot Toot almost dead and then a full health heal through the wall from the Furia. So being able to find that is great play. But again, comeback mechanic for Authority here is going to make it a little bit easier for them to grab this point. That's already 93.
Yeah, and it's going to be 97. But how much is going to happen after this? Seismic Crash is a big deal, and I love it. Takes away Zelda, who is really the majority of the bonus damage that's going to affect the point, although it's not going to be enough. Here's the Dragon Punch, and Graphies, Klosar looking to buy some time. Klosar, can he get it? He finds one, but they body block for J-Bay. They know they've got to keep him on the objective. There's the Pyre Strike. I don't know how he's fighting into that, but Zelda finds two. Can Zelda find another? J-Bay is at his last breath, and he needs to get Vilicky boy out. No more heals for you, but it gets through, and that's going to keep Toot Toot alive and tootin', and Zelda Zelda forced to fall away. Blazing Asars for now will have control.
And Zelda falling right there. He has been important to this. It's gotten to the point where it is exactly just point capture oriented. All you have to worry about is this small space and that dead zone. Those seedlings do so much damage and control around the point, but losing him right then means this kind of stagger can come through to the point where Blazing Asars shrug off authority.
And Zelda does everything right there, but Toot does it even better because as an offensive player, he knows the threat is it the Grok? No, it's the Willow. I can stun the healer, sure, but for me, I need to sustain, and I'm not worried about Grok's damage as much as I am about Willow's AoE anti-healing pressure because that shuts down Veliky Boy as well. So he does the right thing. He stuns Zelda as a solo stun, takes the risk, and it pays off big. Unfortunately, it was really one Pyre Strike that Veliky Boy got off that just guaranteed Toot staying alive in that fight. And that was all the difference. That's why this Legendary is going to be something very impactful as we head into this season.
And I mean, it just goes back to the numbers you were saying before. 6,000 a second.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at what happened to Inara. He threw it through the wall.
Hey,
it stops on her, and then she goes from 0 to 100 literally in a second and a half.
Can you add, 30% healing increase and also 60% just at base with Earthen Guard, and we'll see if that can keep her alive.
If you can give me some paper and a calculator, I can tell you the numbers for it probably tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, it's that with Inara, it's so powerful because you even have that Cauterize 3 starting out on the Leon, but with Rejuvenate 3 and with Earthen Guard, she completely negates Cauterize 3. It's just back to 6,000 health every second, and you can't deal with that, especially adding 30 to 40% damage reduction at all points of time for her.
I mean, even if you say, I'm only taking a chunk out of that, I'm taking it from like 90 to like 40%, where it's like still 40% anti-heal. Like, I'm shrugging that off. I'm a Nara, like, I'm getting 6,000 a second. 40% of 6,000 is still a lot.
That's still a lot every second. Let's talk about that. You know, I think it's a beautiful showcase of Blazing Asars' dominance where they want to be in this league. And we're going to keep tabs on that because I think, if you have a team like Blazing Asars who has been there, hasn't had the type of LAN success as a PGS qualifier that they would have liked to have. These guys have been at previous LANs back in the day, years ago, year and a half ago, but they haven't been able to come back since. And I think that kind of impact mentally is what they're fighting against. They want to be that team from the PGS that says, we're the next pro team. We're the next Splice replacement. We're the next, or in general, right? Whatever.
Virtus Pro replacement.
Whatever it is, Virtus Pro replacement. Whatever it is. I'm not saying they're going to get replaced, but I just say that these guys are definitely fighting for a spot in the PPL, and hats off to them. Great performance today.
Being able to go through, we saw now 2 2-0s overall in Europe, but the thing is Authority for that, even though they have that loss, it didn't really feel like they were too far behind. Until they lost that 3rd point right there, that was still anybody's game coming into it. So they still have a lot going for them. I'm kind of curious how they're going to play against teams like Clown Fiesta and Underrated in the future. Yeah,
we know Blazing Stars and Clown Fiesta from prior times, and these are the 2 teams you would recognize. But so far, it goes the way we would assume here. We still have Brazil coming up, and Gimas and Raul, they've already played each other 2-1, so that looks to be a tight set heading into the following weeks, and those teams seem to be relatively evenly matched. And then it'll be the fan favorite Space Station Gaming with FRZ God leading the charge against Pro ERD. So we'll have to wait and see. That'll be coming up on your screens extremely shortly. But, of course, my name is Evan Rainday Rayner. That's William Newberry V, a.k.a. Gormizer. We're done with our European broadcast of the PGS for now. But stay tuned. We've got Brazil coming up right after this. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more PGS action. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back from those beautiful, beautiful clips of gameplay from earlier on today, where EU and the beautiful Blazing Asars took down Authority 2-0. We're back here for the Brazilian portion of things. A little Samba action going on. I'm not sure if this is exact Samba, Nick, but you would
Looks
know.
good to me.
You're the expert.
I'm the cultured man.
Oh, you're the cultured man.
Yeah.
All right. So
burst fire.
Yeah, exactly. Burst mode. Okay, I know it is
Apologies.
burst fire, but it's burst mode because you know what? He's got to switch modes. It's a totally different gun, and we did see it. I think like our conjecture was correct that it's going to be more of a high-level PC thing versus console because of the aim.
Yeah, so it was Frog Isle. Any other maps, or was it just that one?
Well, I mean, only 2 maps, so we didn't see the Victor and the Stone Keep map. So it did seem to be something that Frog Isle will probably see that more often than not for that one. And it's going to be interesting to see how Brazil takes a look at 1.4 as we take a look at the maps here. Space Station Gaming and FRZ God in the squad coming back in to try and assert dominance. They've had some great land runs, Nick, and
they sure
not
have.
quite gotten there.
They've definitely, put themselves on that upper echelon. They've gotten international respect and some victories, to be quite honest, and they're really, really looking up. As long as they, just stick together and continue to build synergy, continue to build that team dynamic that they have worked so hard to build. And now, with all the happenings with Burrito and them, it doesn't look like they'll be as competitive at the next event. Right out of the gate, Hecate leaving, he says he still has a lot of confidence in the guys and especially his replacements coming in.
Yeah.
But, right out of the gate, it's tough to ask that.
It definitely is tough to ask, and obviously the things in the Latin American countries and South America are changing drastically, but sometimes that's what creates a hotbed of really progression. The change and adjustment and unsettling kind of discussions here. The EV ban, pretty interesting. Something typical of Brazil. They love their EVs. FRZ got one of the best EVs in the world. You see guys like Gervin, who are some of the best EVs in the world. Keeper as well. And so, obviously, EV in this region means a lot, but surprised to see her banned here.
Yeah, it's Stone Keep, and this was something that right at the start of this year was super popular to do. She would come up right over, along with Canessa. Remember, Canessa was super, almost first pick on Stone Keep at a time. EVs definitely has some angles to work with here, but I think you're right. I think it's more of just this team's pick.
Yeah, and it does seem to be that SSG are going to go for the Androxus instead, so that should be fun. You can expect FRZ God on the Bomb King. So the Willow and the Victor in response. I think this is a burst mode Victor.
Yeah, and they definitely have some pressure to be put on and applied from a distance. The Willow questioning how it'll do against the Androxus. Not a lot of point pressure drafted for this SSG lineup. They're going to march around the map wherever they damn well please, and hopefully that's straight to the Willow, or else she's going to cause big problems for them alongside Victor.
I mean, that's a Ruckus that we haven't seen since 1.4 started, and there really is nothing to say about Ruckus except that he always
there never is.
Comes in and out of this meta based on other characters. He's one of the best showcases of, I think, the natural instincts of how biology works, where different apex predators show up in your environment and the different species start to flourish because maybe that predator eats something that was eating this middle species, and now that middle species can just go out of control in terms of its population. And if a different apex predator comes and eats something that doesn't eat that, then they get under control. It seems like Ruckus is just a middle species there.
So, looks like Spexy filling in for Dyron today. Not directly, it's Mitau playing the support, which was Dyron's old role, but all Royal Subjects for Spexy, which was normally a champion that we'd see FRZ got on. He swapped over to Andro. Doesn't look like anything will be swapped up. I don't know if we'll even, despite the punch changes, we'll start to see the punch legendary.
We should see the loadouts, though, because he may be introducing that card, and he hasn't. So just standard Andro for FRZ God. I mean, we wouldn't expect him to be playing this, and it seems to be an adjustment for a Spexy.
Reversal going to land on the shield, which does still count as getting the hit to get his dash resets. Good shots here. Patient play from FRZ God. Just poking at a safe distance, not overcommitting to anything. Willow is committed to Androxus. She gives up the high ground, but FRZ God escapes with his life. He can just call that out now.
Yeah.
And the rest of ProAir is going to have to sort of back up. You can see that they are beginning to lose that high ground pressure once the Willow gave it up.
And I like how FRZ God just uses the map to his advantage, knows the situation, and says, I'll just stand on the point. Let's get 15%. Why not? Man, these Solar Blessings, these Pyre Strikes, they're not really landing. And I believe that is what she's running. As far as the talent, I didn't get a chance to take a look at it, but Hollywood BR, a player we've seen in Brazil quite often, if he's doing anything like we saw in EU, is running that Solar Blessing talent, but no, he stayed with Cherish.
The one that was banned out at LAN?
Yep, that was what we saw Kamiker and his team use to great avail in the first set of today.
What were the healing charts like in that type of game?
You know, Furia Far and Beyond,
really?
about 12,000 ahead after round 1. It's
okay.
6,000 health a heal every second. Sorry, 6,000 health every second for the heal.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I would say 69% for Space Station Gaming on the objective, despite very, very low objective times. No contesting going on here, and that's a little bit to be expected, I think, given this Space Station front line. That's not what they're built to do. That's not what this comp is going to be successful at. They know that, so that's how they're playing.
And Space Station, to me, 78% counting, just seem to be playing much more aware of the game and more aware of what's happening at this moment. You know, little decisions like that seem to be working for them, and they haven't really dominated. They haven't found insane amounts of kills, but they've just kind of held steady. They haven't made mistakes.
Pro Air, they're going to go down here on the back foot now. Nothing really long range for SSG, though, so they're going to have to use these very spearheady front lines to try and make some pressure up onto this high ground in particular. This is a very hard composition to push into for Space Station Gaming. When you look at the Willow, the Victor, how they're able to just hold steady and from a nice safe distance. Not quite getting the follow-up I think you would hope for there in the open power. They end up getting it done, but it takes them a long time.
I mean, he had time to get healed. He had time to, like, a lot of things to happen that would have saved Ares' life there. Luckily, they find the kill. But boy, oh boy, I mean, if that was a perfect time for a through time in space, if that wasn't, I don't know what was. Rachal here staying on the 8 streak. He's been impressive at both lands and online for this team. A rock-solid frontline presence for the SSG boys.
Farziga just lurking, looking for that pick, but with Mitao going down, the time is likely not now. And I don't think I've seen him hit a shot all game over 300 damage.
It's been
all just chipping away from a distance. He's not really committed to anything that we've seen anyway on camera this entire game.
And I think that's important because he's really playing so excellently as far as the flank. He's forcing you to go out of position to chase him. Otherwise, he'll stay around. He's an ever-present threat. And it allows things like this to happen. And Mitao finds the through time and space on time. And that's going to put, I guess, Pro Erd back into their base.
Ready to go on the emitter shield, contesting the objective. Inara all by herself. The pressure from all angles. Early game healing is good, but not good enough. Up into the air for another accursed arm for some of the most damage that FRZ God has been able to do all game long. Immortal holds down the back line as SSG just tries to choke out Pro Air for the conversion.
It's definitely a moment where you would maybe hex a fire, but it's not needed. And they hold on to it, and it's some of the veteranship that we're seeing these guys showcase as multiple LAN attendees over the last summer.
This is the interesting part about that, right? He gets overpowered, Ares, but everyone else is so distracted the whole time that this con ends up just, you know, it's kind of a wash. They're both just sort of out of the fight. Yes, Ares ends up dying, but... And despite all that conversation about Andro and his low damage, it's pretty crazy. But he, you know, just lived the majority of that round chipping constantly.
Only 2 killing blows. And that's the thing. I mean, the impact he's had is strong. He has contributed so much damage to this fight. He just hasn't really committed much. And that, in many ways, is forcing Pro Air to make a commitment. Otherwise, he's going to keep being effective. They're keeping to win this point fight. I don't know if it's just a strategy against this team, but it's working out very well. Oh my God, 1287. I don't think I've seen it at 5 people. That's crazy. The last amount of damage I got hit, I was the 4th, and it was like 1180, something like that. 1287. That's the highest Fernando Fireball I've ever seen in competitive. Rachal just heating it up.
Beautiful stuff, and that's, I think, you know, picking up the Master Riding, he just gets there a little bit quicker. The beautiful counter ultimates there from a Spexy. The seismic crash was coming through, and he was the peel for his front line. No one could get close to follow up Inara's ultimate because the Bomb King had it locked down.
That was special from Rachal. He's had a pretty special performance today. Rachal in the chat for sure. 75% counting. Space Station Gaming, when you hit a fireball like that, I mean, it's hard to have a shot at coming back and winning the point.
Yep, it's going to cost them a Fury ultimate just to have the movement speed
to get in.
To get Khan and Inara's big butts back onto the objective in time, but they do have comeback mechanic. They're climbing rapidly. SSG, they're experienced. They've been in this situation before. They're going to keep their heads about them and methodically take this back.
And that's smart. It's smart, you know, you just back off. A lot of teams think, I have to hold the point. That's my biggest asset. No, it's actually your biggest asset is the fact that the enemy team now has to go to the point. They all have to stand in the fishbowl. They all have to be there. Otherwise, you're just one step and you win. And so when it seems like the onus is on you to hold, it really is on the enemy team. And it's just a veteran move for them to be able to recognize that.
5 for 0, wiping that fight there. Space Station execute beautifully, but even with how, you know, great that was, it almost wasn't enough time, right? They still climbed all the way back to almost 90%. They're really just putting on display the sheer strength of the comeback mechanic.
Cut one. Opting away from the burst mode, which we have seen in Europe. We also saw a couple of different talent selections as far as the healers go. But Aries back to the basics there, and again!
Not again!
Mitao catches him again! Are you kidding me? Oh no, MR1. Fool me twice. Shame on you, buddy.
Same spot, literally. Coordinated strike there. Love it from Mitao. He's got it locked down. Like we said, not the traditional support player for this roster. A little bit of changing going on there. He's taking up the mantle, at least for now. Genos has been one of the easier champions, I think, for, you know, guys to flex into the support role.
Yeah.
Because they can still kind of do some damage here, and it's not exactly hard to apply your heals, especially because later in the game, Genos almost doesn't have to make decisions even about who's getting the mark when you can apply it to 3, almost 4 of your teammates.
Yeah. And that through time and space is definitely showing the ability to be aggressive when need be. Great Void Grip as well, just to secure the kill on the Skypes. It's 3-0. It's looking like it's going to be a 4-0 here. But there's still plenty to play. Not if SSG have anything to say about it. MR01 drops down. Does he have the overpower? No, he's already used it. There's the barrage, the last hope. MR01, and it seems like Pro-Erd have stabilized, at least for a bit. Aries gonna go down, and so it does appear to be Space Station Gaming giving this one up, and Bomb came flying out into the distance. That's a
calling for the reset.
That's a screen shot if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, you know, Stonekeep, it's beautiful this time of year.
Yeah.
Leaves are changing colors. I was trolling, but I think they actually are.
I know. Some great map work. We've got some hints at some maps getting some visual touch-ups in the near future, so stay tuned for more on that. But definitely artists hard at work at all times to make things look as best as they can for this wonderful, wonderful game. 8 seconds left. Space Station Gaming. Got to try and commit here. Don't have many ultimates to use.
No wall either for Anar to just throw up and contest. Khan's going to give it his best shot, but he's already below half HP. By the time he gets the shield up, cut one.
Wow.
Cutting down SSG from this left-hand side. You can't sleep on the damage from Victor. Trying to keep this Androxus track down. The grenade will do it. Just like that. We've got another round.
So cut one and the sprays. Sounds like an indie rock band.
It was like 1180, something like that. 1287.
Tell him, Evan.
You know, I didn't know my voice sounded like that. Am I from a different planet?
You're from Planet Peaking.
Robotron? Am I really a robot? I don't know. But I think at this point, though, Rachel definitely playing automated. He just shows up, hits the most calculated and perfectly valuable, efficient fireball you could hit.
And I'll probably be looking to do it again. I mean, that's just such a vanilla start for both teams on Stonekeep, but Rachel, he had to have bought the Master Riding to get there that quickly. And we'll have to see if Pro-Erd ends up switching up their strategy. They
smart.
Just go for the dismounts instead.
Why not? Why not? Cut it off. And then it's only the Anar there, so they're not going to give that one away for free like they did last time. They've learned from their mistakes, which is always good to see. But they're giving up so much space, and now where are they going to be able to fight from? Willow has to support it, and luckily no one's on the point.
My thoughts exactly, especially for the, you know, this is where Victor and Willow wanted to be, and they haven't been able to be there at all this game. Aries is gonna get a pick and get out scot-free. It looks like no, you didn't go for that.
Got him.
Oh my,
that would have been a heck of a hustle there. Mitao trying to steal your lunch money and your girl.
Yeah, Victor's not an easy one to hit with that because he does have just the hustle on demand. You have to be that much more on point with it. And I guess at that range, he definitely was, right? You're just not expecting to see it come through at that distance when you are the furthest person away from the team fight. You don't even know if Mitao knows you're there.
A little bit of style, and I love the Spexy's performance. I mean, whether it is just them trying new things, maybe without Dyron, or maybe Dyron couldn't make it for today, I mean, it's a solid performance. Either way you slice it, you're saying I'm happy with the way Spexy was able to step up and make our roster feel seamlessly productive.
I think, you know, it's kind of like a boring but efficient football offense. You know, it's not fun to watch necessarily, and that's how I felt about FRZ's Andro there, right?
Exactly.
Really nothing I can complain about or say that he did even subjectively incorrect.
Exactly.
He's at the top of the damage charts the whole time and just not dying.
Yeah, and you know what? He does take a little bit of that Androxus. Hey, can Androxus be in the meta? And add a different layer to it. Can Androxus be in the meta the way he's always been played? Maybe not. Still things to figure out. But can he be in the meta and be played in this patient style? Maybe a different concept of how you would like to approach Androxus in your flank play. Maybe. You know, we see Mutsu have the most success when he waits on champions like Buck and Zen. And so maybe that is something that will bring Androxus back.
Yeah, well, that's going to be one map in the pockets of SSG. These are best of 3, so one more. We'll do them in for the day. Ascension Peak is where they have to put it all away. You can see the bands down there. We're ready to get this one started. Always an interesting map. Not sure if anyone's really quite settled on the way to play Ascension Peak. It's so big and, you know, obviously one of the newer Siege maps in the game.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun to watch this map evolve. It's got a very unique element to it, and the largest capture point in the game by far that has cover already in place on it.
It's going to be interesting to see how these bands develop when Koga becomes available. Because we know Koga is going to be a big part of the later season. We know he's going to be a big part of lands. We know that even other champions are most likely going to be a big part of lands as well. And that always flexes, you know, your ability to not only pick, but also deal with the picks that are available against you. SSG going to take the Bomb King here. Although if I do recall, it looked like it was... No, that had to be another one. I was recalling a ban phase when Bomb King was banned, but apparently let through. Obviously, Spexy did a great job on that one last map. It'll be the Inara and Cassie for Pro Erd here.
A lot of frontliners banned out this time around, so SSG go ahead. They get the Barrack online, and what you can do with that larger capture point, like we mentioned, is you either have like your one front line, or you can still just dominate it, or just have your one. And I feel like just the natural cover helps a single frontliner like a Barrack, or even non-traditional ones like a solo Torvald or a solo Makoa, just sort of be relevant on the point, right? When you have that one less line of sight you have to worry about, because you can just kind of tuck up against a statue and stay a little bit safe. So it's interesting to watch teams build their front lines on this map in particular.
Tyra here getting a little bit of play. We haven't seen her in 1.4 at all. Will SSG and Brazil be the ones to bring it out first? I'd say why not? And it is. They're going to take it. And will it be the hunting party is now my next question, as Pro Erd has to respond to a highly immobile but highly damaging damage dealer.
Definitely a solid lineup here for Pro Erd as well.
Huh?
The Drogos versus the Tyra. Now, this is an interesting matchup because it is the hit scan, which traditionally we hand over to whatever champion it is against Drogos. But because Tyra is just so slow and immobile and predictable, Drogos can get the upper hand on that champion, especially if you're the one landing the first rocket, the first shots.
Yes.
It's kind of a matter of who gets the jump on who in that match.
Totally. And I think Pro Erd go with what maybe they feel most comfortable on, and that might be the Drogos play. Space Station Gaming, we know they feel good in this lineup. They've been the champions of Brazil for nearly a year now. Looking to continue that in the PGS as Week 1 begins. As far as competition, already off to a great start. One game away before this week's set goes to them.
It'll be Ares.
Ace Hunting Party.
And it did look like, yeah, Hunting Party comes through. Massive Yomi swings coming through in the back line. FRZ God finds 2, and he billows out to safety.
And he gets a Light of Dawn Cherish heal, which is that's just special. That's just special. The extra heal and the extra shield. All the things you don't really need, but you love to have. And FRZ God showing why Yomi's still good, why Zen's still a hyper carry and one of the best in the game. To bet, it all on, and he gets a huge shot. Drogos, Tyra, these guys are absolutely...
And it's hard to see, Evan, but he was getting the bonus damage there from Hunting Party. Because I saw, you know, 1,035, and then I was like, where's Genos? And I was like, wait.
There is no Genos.
That's no Genos. It's a Tyra.
And it's 25%, Nick. I mean, it's 10% more than Genos, you know, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so you want to look when you're watching it from SSG's perspective, you want to look out. It's easy to tell from Ares' perspective because he gets the UI indicator of where his marks are. But for everyone else on his team, I think all you see in Spectator is a red skull kind of on center mass of their character model. So if you're seeing that red skull, it means that target is taking 25% more damage from everyone on SSG.
Now, I will say that that was a relatively bad crossfire as far as the way it showed up. But what it did was it zoned them away. When you hear things like crossfire or Buck Wild, you just kind of back up. You kind of go behind a corner. And as they're pushing up that hill, which is often where this payload gets stalled, it served a decent purpose in allowing them to just stay clumped up for that extra couple of seconds. And now they've been able to keep them in the base the entire time.
They're just running them over right now, and they do have the range to kind of poke out at this distance. Tyra's fine at it, I guess, but these Yomi strikes from Zen, especially with the bonus damage, my man just got stiff-armed. And it took his ult charge.
I mean, this is a very, very damaging composition here. We're going to see what it looked like. And that was the Yomi strike, 1,063. Oh my God.
Hurts to see.
From 850 to 1,063. I mean, that's 213 damage that it's adding to that hit. Yikes.
In 15 seconds.
Well, they're going to try to fight back here. A lot of damage coming through, and that's just the nature of this composition, right? You've got bonus damage. You've got big healing coming across all the board. But at the end of the day, everyone on this SSG lineup does a lot of damage. Nara, for a front line, doesn't do that much damage. Barrick does. Furia, for a support, she does some of the most in the game and most consistent, especially from a safe distance.
FRZ got on a 4 streak. He's most likely going to try to take that route. They know where he is, thanks to the Cassie scout. Combustible hits in the back line onto the Furia, but she's still healthy, and now it's time for him to move. They've already been poked. Counter just to buy a little bit of time. Cassie doesn't want to chase. No Zen is there. FRZ got it. It's the last Yomi strike. Will he commit? Going for just the 3rd strike in range. He gets it. MRO1 deleted yet again. Zen, the tactical genius.
You know, sometimes you see it coming and you still can't stop it. It was scouted out. He sat on that flank the entire time. He didn't even pretend that he was going to not come through that way. And then he did, and there was still nothing that they could do about it. A lot of pressure. That's what happens when you draft 3 DPS. You can attack from so many angles at the same time. And it's just so much damage that you need to deal with and so much you need to communicate. That's what's happening, and it's just not happening for ProAir.
It's like that bad, you know, kind of ass action hero moment where he goes up to the bad guy or the dude at the bar and says, in 5 seconds, I'm going to take that stool, I'm going to take you down, and I'm going to take your girl and walk out of here with a drink in my hand. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're not going to do that. And then he does it. He walks out, and you're like, oh, man, he's so cool. And that's really what FRZ guy was doing. No jokes about it. I'm straight up coming in with a Yomi strike, and I'm going to kill all 3 of you. And he's done it every single round again and again and again. SSG completely dominant in their performance today in Brazil.
Payload coming around the home stretch now. FRZ God finds a nice little clip of his Yomi swing up on the top balcony, where ProAir would have liked to have made their defense, but no one directly super good from long range, but SSG doesn't care. They've gotten so close. They've really just run this one right up the gut here. That's a
nice,
very special Dragon Punch coming up over the top that doesn't end up landing.
And he counters it beautifully as well. Space Station Gaming. Absolutely just delicious. Nothing else to say about it. Completely dominating this performance in both Game 1 and Game 2, and showing off Tyra for the first time in 1.4, and that hunting party with 2 marks now seems to be extra devastating.
I mean, you've got a lot of guys that like to run that champion. You know Na'Vi is going to be running that now.
They're going to try it.
Just that much more viable, I think. It really helps you maybe make that decision, right? Because Tyra's legendaries have always sort of floated pretty close to her when she does end up getting picked. But now I think that maybe can put the foot down and say Hunting Party is going to be incredible for competitive play.
Talking about that and like a Torvald, I mean, all these combinations are becoming, you know, it seems like the damage amp and the protection, those things are really going to be a signature of this 1.4 meta as we head towards the end of the year. Let's take a look at the standings to finish off today's BGS broadcast. It's been a great day of a lot of successful games for Blazing Hussars, that's for sure, in Space Station Gaming. They'll take your wins over Authority and ProAir, respectively, in both Europe and Brazil to finish off Week 1.
Big competitors that you expect to be at the top, I think, of these leaderboards as we move through the Global Series. It's a lot of fun to watch, you know, new faces come up to the top here, but it's also fun to watch, you know, those guys who do it every week come in and do their thing and just look good doing it.
Yeah, and I think you guys will be excited to see, if you're watching at home, what we have up for you. Let's take a look at the schedule all week at 11 a.m. Tune in, because we'll have Paladins right where you're watching now and across many platforms in terms of the PGS. The PPL starts next week, but this is a great way to kind of dip your toes in. And also, if you're playing yourself, just learn kind of some of the things you might expect to see in the Pro League, and also why they're working, with Nick, myself, and Gormeister breaking it down for you guys. Remember, a great show next week with Monday on the PCL and our Gather Round after show. We've shot some fun stuff for that yesterday, as well as Esports Weekly coming back on Tuesday. So expect to see all those things on Tuesday instead of Monday, due to the fact that we have a Labor Day break off. But we'll see you all tomorrow as well. It's Rain Day and Pretty Hair signing off for today. Never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all in the realm.
Hey there, subjects. Bomb King here, owner and operator of Bomb King's Cash for Crystals. From August 21st to August 30th, save up to 35% on the crystals. Look at my team of high-powered buyers, ready to take your unwanted cents and turn them into something that makes sense. His name doesn't fit the rhyming scheme, but he's my cousin, and I love him. Crystals aren't the only savings. Save on select chests all throughout the week. You don't have to hit the gym to get the chest of your dreams.
Did someone say Jim?
How can you not love this guy? Visit us in the realm and save big on the crystals. Get the bomb rolling on the best deals around. Ha ha ha!